Helluva Boss is a vastly popular cartoon series created by Spindlehorse and written by Vivziepop. With its enterprise boasting an over 10 million subscriber fanbase, how truly obscure can a show with an insanely massive following be? Let's find out, shall we? The Sky Helluva Boss pilot. Helluva Boss released its pilot on November 25th, 2019. It's generally a relatively solid pilot, with it boasting an 11-minute runtime and rated TVMA. Overall, the pilot does a pretty good job at describing most of the characters, with it showcasing Solus as a pompous douche, Blitzo as a irresponsible boss, Luna as an angsty teenager, Millie as a supportive wife, and Moxie as a generally solid husband who simply is fed up with his boss's irresponsibility. Generally, it's a good summary of all the characters. However, later on, Vivziepop would announce in a tweet the pilot isn't canon.
Stop the cap!
Overall, in my opinion, I think that's an absolute load of shit. Saying that the pilot isn't canon seems like a cop-out to me, solely because people were constantly calling out the show for the numerous contradictions throughout the entirety of Season 1 and Season 2 towards it.
You know, if you get in trouble, I get in trouble. We don't want that.
Oh, you mean how they've been careful the whole series?
Matter of Stolas getting in trouble for allowing lower creatures to use his magic to access the human world, but that can't be the case either, since the imps blatantly advertise their services and how they do it.
Especially when you take into consideration that Hazbin's pilot is somehow canon, but I'll leave it up to your guys' interpretation. What do y'all think? The Surface, subscribe. Well, looks like I don't have to ask y'all to subscribe. Thank you to whoever made this iceberg. Y'all did the work for me, so there's your instruction. Helluva Boss 1 through 4. Helluva Boss, of course, details the episode where the cherubs are introduced, which personally, in my opinion, I think it's a good idea to show how the forces of heaven and hell can collide with each other, but besides that, it's really nothing special. And again, the same thing that happened towards Striker basically happened with the cherubs, the difference being that unlike Striker, the cherubs were never really threatening to begin with, so their downfall and bore of a villain was never really anything that impactful or special. Bad Luck Jack. Bad Luck Jack, or better known as Zoophobia, was a short released on September 30th, 2020, written by Vivziepop. Overall, it's a very decent short, with it also containing very nice music written by Gooseworks, and besides this one short being released, nothing else has really progressed with the show. It's probably due to the fact that, again, many of Vivziepop's other IPs have become vastly more successful and profitable, and again, when it comes to Vivziepop, I get that mindset. She's a busy woman, she's gonna prioritize working on IPs that generate her the most amount of revenue, simply because she just doesn't have enough time to work on everything involved with her projects. The Shallow, Reddit, Insta, and Twitter. Not surprisingly, being that, again, Vivziepop has a massive fan base, she would also branch out to other social medias, which again, Helluva Boss has a Reddit, Insta, and Twitter. It's just common sense that they would utilize those social medias. Live streams. Occasionally, Vivziepop will of course boost live streams where she talks about the VAs, the singers, and the various people that have helped work on the show. Occasionally during those live streams, she will also discuss some of the ways that her show works.
Pretty the low bottom is like imps and hellhounds are like kind of the bottom of this society, which is why Helluva is about the imps, because it's basically like the working class of this entire society, and they have all these other classes above them. Like even the sinning class is technically above them, and they have to work the retail jobs or like the, you know, whatever job in the sinner's world.
They're the middle to lower class.
Yeah, exactly.
As well as the theme and the creation of her world building. Again, overall, while it is good to sort of clarify how some of your show works when you sometimes miss the opportunity to do so, it's not really that good of an effective way to tell the audience, because again, not everyone is gonna see a majority of this stream, and they're not even gonna like know that this clip even exists.
No one should be expected to comb through the internet to find information that should be in the series.
If you have to explain it within a live stream, then it's not really a good sign of how descriptive your cartoon is. Merch. Being that Helluva Boss is a massively popular cartoon series, they of course have their own merch line, and have actually collabed with Hot Topic to have both Helluva Boss and Hazbin Hotel merch within their stores. I've personally copped a few Hot Topic shirts from the store, so if you like that kind of stuff, then you know, feel free to cop one. Easter eggs in the background. Occasionally throughout this show, Vivziepop will tend to put various Easter Easter eggs within the show that detail some of the factoids or hints throughout the show. I think it's a good way to connect with your fan base and also an interesting way to discuss some of the nuances and ways that the show works. The shallow fan art. Again, like what I've said before, Helluva Boss has a massive following of over 10 million subscribers. It's no surprise that this community generates a lot of fan art on platforms like Reddit and of course YouTube and X. Oh Millie. Oh Millie is a pretty standard jingle that appears within Helluva Boss's first pilot. Like what I said before, it's pretty average. You know, not surprisingly, it gets outscaled by many later occurring episodic songs, but it's not by any means a terrible jingle either. Holidaze. Holidaze was a short release within the 2019 of Christmas, created by Vivziepop's team and written by Medrano herself. Not surprisingly, it's only been released as a short solely due to the fact that, like what I said before about Zoophobia, her massively popular more IPs have gained more profitable and gained more attention, so obviously she's gonna divulge more time to producing those. Die Young. Die Young was an animated musical cover released by Vivziepop dedicated to fan covering the legendary Kesha song Die Young. I'll just say that it's pretty impressive at how far Vivziepop's come, to the point where she's gone from fan covering songs written by Kesha to then actually having Kesha voice act for one of her episodes. It shows how far she's truly come as an animator and her popularity. Merch promotional videos. Not surprisingly, being that they have their own merch line, they will occasionally drop merch promotional videos or advertisements dedicated to boosting the interest for people to buy their fan created products on their stores. Overall, it's a common sense idea and a good way to get extra money to pay their staff to make more detailed and more intuitive episodes. The comics. Being that Helluva Boss of course has a massively popular animatic series, it's no surprise that it of course started off as a simple comic and still has comics written and drawn by Vivziepop to this day. Knows all VAs. Being that Vivziepop's episode of course includes every single VA's credits within the end of the episodes, it's a nice way to see how truly far this show has come, as well as support the vast amounts of talent that contributed to this show's production. If you can name all the VAs that contributed to this show's production, then good on you, I suppose. The underwater. Amino. Amino is of course a vastly popular social media back in the day that Vivziepop used to and occasionally does use when it comes to promoting her work. Again, not surprising that she uses Amino. Again, most commonly back then when the platform was trending, a lot of artists did utilize that as a way to connect and promote their work. Timber. Timber is of course a song written and produced by Kesha that of course has been the song used to both cover the episodes as well as make fan automatics and TikTok short edits. Has an OC. Being that Vivziepop of course is a vastly talented artist, she of course not only has her own OCs but also creates various characters within their Helluva Boss series that she voice acts. Language dubs. Being that Helluva Boss is of course a vastly popular cartoon and has gained influence within other countries, it of course now expands its audience towards other languages solely by the creation of different dubs, where of course different languages take place. And of course you can utilize this feature on platforms like YouTube, where you can go to the settings and change the languages to various languages that you speak. And overall it's not exactly perfect, as it's missing a few languages such as Japanese and French, despite being included as dubs for the Hazbin Hotel pilot, but I'm gonna strongly assume within the future that dubs for more languages of these likes will be added. Rule 34 of characters. Being that of course Helluva Boss has a vastly popular fan art community, it of course comes to no one's shock that this community of course has an NSFW fan art community as well. Overall, I don't really care if you make this type of content as long as you're not promoting like, you know, illegal stuff like obviously underage characters, or making fan art of characters that are family related or actual like existing people. If it's not used for the purpose of like a teaching material or done for the purpose of trying to like tell people, hey, this type of stuff does exist in real life, then I don't support it. And if that's not the type of stuff you do, then feel free to draw and post whatever NSFW content you like on a appropriately NSFW 18+ server, of course. Theories. Being that Helluva Boss is a popular fan base show, this of course has led to the creation of many people posting their various theories or thoughts about the show on platforms like TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts. The deep, strange theories. Again, like what I said before, being that this has a massive popular fan base, there's of course been some very strange theories that have come come out regarding the show. And again, what you define as strange is kind of subjective. Like, it could be strange in the aspect that it's a conspiracy theory, like a really big stretch, or strange in the fact that the theory makes some rather dark and kind of gross assumptions about various characters, with it of course being particularly regarded as strange due to it pertaining within the illegal aspects of theorization, such as characters committing crimes of the sort. Update videos. Being that of course Vivziepop has a massive fan base, and given that some of her animatics take time to release, she will occasionally release update videos that of course give the audience a general premise about when the episodes will come out and how long they will take. Again, overall, it's a very good way to boost up hype and make sure your audience remains interested and thus is willing to wait the extended amount of time for the new animatics to release. Original Zoophobia comics. Being that of course before the Zoophobia animatic came out, it was of course first brainstormed within the theme of comic art. Overall, when looking at some of her older drawings from 9 years ago on platforms like Tumblr, it's interesting to see how far Vivziepop's come from simple comic book artistry to now animated video format. The Trenches, fandom.com/page. Being that of course, like what I said again, Helluva Boss is vastly popular, it's no surprise that the show of course has a wiki fandom, Cosplay. Once again, being that the show of course has a massive fan base, it's no surprise that of course the cosplay scene would be massive, as well as once again, while generally people tend to make their own cosplays and post them to social media like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram and read it, there are a couple of pre-made, cosplays, some Helluva Boss that you can buy on platforms like Amazon, and even in videos like my previous reviews, I've cosplayed for some of them as, B-roll, and overall it's a pretty nice way to show off some of your artistic talents if you're not as good of a drawer, and it's a good way to grow your fan base and get more people interested in your social media content and following. Bootleg Etsy merchandise. Again, like what I said before, being that this of course fan base has a vastly popular community by creating bootleg or fake kind of counterfeit merch off of the creators' platforms or characters, solely done for the purpose of essentially milking off of a popular IP and gaining money for your own wallet. Again, I'm not sure if Vivziepop has a super big legal team or anything like that, but if she does, I would recommend probably talking to them and seeing if, any of these bootleg merchandise creators violate your copyright protection, and if they do, I would recommend either taking it down or threatening litigation, because again, they are making false merch of her content without her permission solely to profit for themselves. Spindlehorse employees Reddit account. Again, being like what I've said before, this show of course has a massive amount of artists and writers that contribute to its day-to-day creation. They of course not surprisingly have their own social media platforms where they showcase, various platforms like Reddit or YouTube or X, where they showcase their own work outside of Vivziepop's, department. And overall, I would generally recommend supporting some of those artists and checking them out. Vivziepop's cats. Now, being that of course Vivziepop is a pet owner, a cat owner to be specific, sometimes within live streams or occasionally within her own animatics, she will sometimes showcase her pets on camera or drop references to them within episodes. P-word allegations. Again, I'm just gonna call it that because I don't know if I could even say the full word on YouTube, so I'm just gonna censor it and call it that. But this allegation solely comes from a vastly inappropriate comment and drawing Vivziepop made back in 2012 following a creepy relationship of two Zoophobia characters, being Addison and a supposed 19-year-old teacher. Again, I'm not sure why the Wikipedia or the page that claims the allegations says that this person is a teacher. Like, nowhere on the drawing or any of the comments could I find that Vivziepop or any of the drawings confirm that it's a teacher. They're assuming that this person is a teacher, which again, if this was a 19-year-old was a teacher, again, if it was proven with evidence, which it's not, or with Vivziepop's comments or words, and wasn't just an insinuation or assumption, then they would have a point, because again, if it was confirmed that this person was a teacher, then yeah, this is absolutely an illegal, inappropriate drawing, because that violates America's person in a trusted power laws.
That only applies to people who are directly responsible for a person's well-being. We're talking parents, teachers, principals, guidance counselors, police officers, actual authorities.
But again, nowhere within the evidence or sources cited is there proof that this is actually a teacher, and not to mention that, like, since when are 19-year-olds teachers? So again, going solely off of the comments and sources that have been provided that Vivziepop's made, aside from the thing that she said in 2012, which again, very inappropriate, it's worth criticism. I do not agree with what she's saying there. She definitely should not have used that type of verbiage. I personally don't believe Vivziepop's defense of saying that Addison is 18, because again, if Addison was 18, why would you have used that type of verbiage on the comments of the drawing? That just makes no sense. So I don't believe her in that aspect. But aside from that, they don't prove that this person is a teacher, and the comment doesn't prove it either. So they're solely summing it up to this person is a teacher based on preconceived vibes or notions. So again, that comment aside, this drawing and her defense is correct, because even to this day, the concept of a 19-year-old and 17-year-old, assuming that there's no person in a trusted power, which the Wikipedia page or the evidence people don't prove, which it's their job to prove that, and if they don't prove it, then I'm gonna assume that it's not true, because the accused person doesn't have to prove that, it's the accuser, and if the accuser doesn't prove that, then I'm going to disregard it. So again, like I was saying, a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old dating is defended by Romeo and Juliet laws.
There are plenty of 18 and 19-year-old seniors in high school who've dated people 2 or 3 years younger than them. This is a common occurrence, and nobody in their right mind would call any of the kids engaged in these relationships, because that would be fucking stupid.
It's important to say that the age gap of 17 to 19 would not be considered the P word. It would not. I think it's really important to understand exactly what a P word is. Here's the definition. Read that, digest that. It's an attraction where an older adult or adolescent has a particular attraction towards a prepubescent child. 17 to 19 would not be considered this.
Giving Happy all the benefit of the doubt that I can muster up, let's say that she had meant to type 17 and 20, and consider her statement. A 3-year age gap is not always dangerous or inherently especially in cases where the two parties met as kids.
In most states and countries, aka teen sexting laws, countries and states put these laws in place because they realize due to the close age gaps, various partners that get intimate with each other starting from high school, such as a sophomore dating a senior, legislators realize that when a sophomore dates a senior, eventually that senior, if the relationship still continues, will become an adult. And despite the close in mind age gap, and legislators realize that they need to implement teen sexting laws protections because they don't want those people in their close high school context age to be permanently put on the registry.
According to criminaldefenselawyer.com, a website which summarizes state and federal laws so that the average person can understand them, quote, "The law provides a defense to the above felony charges for consensual sexting between a young adult and minor. The defense applies to individuals in relationships who are close in age, for instance, a 17-year-old and 19-year-old. Basically, the law treats these relationships similar to adult relationships. The, quote, young adult relationship defense applies only if all the following are true. The offense was committed by a person younger than 22. The person receiving or depicted in the image consented to the conduct. The persons involved are close in age, not more than 4 years apart, and in a dating or ongoing personal relationship. The image was produced, stored, or shared using a smartphone, smart device, cell phone, or social networking website. The image is not distributed beyond the sender, receiver, and person depicted in the image or in violation of a court protection order."
Which is one of the main reasons why California's law that ignores this is bashed, because it's not a good thing for people in close 2 to 3 year high school context relationships to get put on the registry for that.
California law being so behind on the issue of teen sexting that it's possible for teenagers to go to jail and or be forced to register as sex offenders for life for sending nudes to other teenagers is not a good thing, you morons.
And ultimately, besides her comment, the artwork does depict another side to it. That being, of course, the reversed double standard of how if it was a female to a male doing it, it wouldn't be seen as creepy.
My name is Brad, and I need to report a crime. One of the teachers is having sex with a student.
Oh my God! This is terrible. You did the right thing telling the police, Brad. Now, who is the teacher? What's his name?
Well, it isn't a guy teacher, it's a woman.
A woman? Oh, but she's ugly, right?
Well, no, not really. It's the kindergarten teacher, Miss Stevenson.
Blonde? Nice. Nice.
What?
They nailed it in like less than 20 seconds. There is that double standard where if it's a male teacher doing something to a girl student, it's seen as way worse than if a female teacher does something to a boy student.
But if it was the opposite way around, it would absolutely be shut down.
Hi, are you Tony?
Yeah, you're Eric?
Yeah.
I brought you some candy.
Wow, cool.
And some books on Kama Sutra.
First they make him extra creepy, and then they make one of his gifts books on the Kama Sutra?
Neato, having older friends kicks ass. I've kind of matured faster than my other friends. We don't really relate anymore, and all my friends seem so childish now, you know?
Do you like having your back rubbed?
Hold it right there, scumbag.
Huh?
That's what happens.
Monitored your little online chat. Now you're coming with us.
What the hell just happened?
And again, being that this is 2012, this kind of reflects Vivziepop's comment and way of speaking, which again, that doesn't justify it, but again, it does show you that times change, and back then we didn't take things seriously as we do now. But again, that doesn't justify it, but again, it shows you that now in the modern day, Vivziepop's changed, and so has society, because now we're actively calling out this type of behavior.
A year ago, I posted my sexual assault story to YouTube, and after I posted it, I was pretty worried about what everyone would think. But I could just about barely notice the backlash over the tremendous amount of love and support of this topic. And YouTube comments, man, they can be a pretty mixed bag, but for the most part, everybody had their own reasons to connect with this story when I looked at the comment section.
So again, this drawing does a good way at exposing inner double standard concepts and inner problematic things that occur. So again, if that's your reason for not supporting her, fine, I'm not gonna stop you. I wouldn't take a comment that someone as a teenager said inappropriately 13 years ago and then use it as a way to depict her character nowadays. And again, I say this being that there's no evidence out there showing that Vivziepop has ever acted inappropriately or talked inappropriately towards underage people in person or in the online discourse. It's never been recorded in 2012 and it's never been shown to this day. The pitch black Viv Rambles. Before Vivziepop became the multi-million subscriber, much like every other YouTuber on the platform, Vivziepop of course tried to branch out towards other types of content. One of her series of course being Viv Rambles, where Vivziepop would of course ramble about various shows she had strong opinions on, with one of the examples being the 2016 Sausage Party, which of course it's a video that essentially is still up on her channel, and basically it's kind of like a movie review slash rant, which is sort of what I do on this channel. Random Gamer Critic's videos. Random Gamer Critic is overall a channel that basically just does Vivziepop reviews and content. Overall, I don't really understand why he's this deep within the iceberg. Like, aside from I guess saving one Twitch clip from Vivziepop's stream that went viral, like what differentiates Random Gamer from every single other Helluva Boss critic like myself?
Game over!
Overall, covering this iceberg was pretty fun and extensive. It was interesting to see some of the things that I didn't know about this show, as well as some of the various things that people have theorized and thought about. Ultimately, all in all, if you're wondering why I didn't cover some of the iceberg topics within like the linked post, it's because some of them are related to Hazbin Hotel only, and being that this video focuses solely on Helluva Boss only, that's why I skipped them. But anyways, I intend on saving them for the future Hazbin Hotel iceberg, so if you want to see that, then please like and subscribe and share this video around. But with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next iceberg review. Peace.